Good morning and a warm welcome to those attending and also to our viewers watching live on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. Details of the business to be considered today is shown on the agenda, copies of which are available in the room and is also accessible online under the live broadcast. For those present in the room and intending to speak, you will be recorded and it will be made public. For those solely observing in the room today, you may wish to know that the camera is angled away from the public gallery where you are sitting. At the end of the public meeting, when the committee moves to discuss any confidential matters that I broadcast on YouTube will be cut. A reminder to everyone speaking today that your voice will only be audible when the microphone is switched on, and that's indicated by the red light. Fire alarm. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the alarm goes off, please follow officers to the fire exits and out of the building to the designated meeting points. Mobile and tablet devices. For those in the room, please switch off any mobile devices now or put them on silent. Please note that councillors on the committee may use their laptops or tablets during the meeting to view the agenda paperwork. Residents' feedback forms. If you are so minded, can you please complete one of the yellow residents' feedback forms? I see you have one there. The information on these forms is intended to help us to improve the way that we run our meetings. Forms can be completed and left in this room for collection after the meeting, or completed and returned by post to the address on the form. If you are watching on YouTube, you can also complete the form online, and there is a link below the broadcast. Please ensure that you identify which items you have if you are declaring an interest. State whether your interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and please give the reasons that you have an interest. For members, you need not to declare an interest in any item on the agenda where they have already listed this interest on the registers of interest. Furthermore, you do not need to declare an interest just because, for example, you're a councillor of the ward. Right, we will now go to the chairman's announcements. Before we do, we're just going to introduce ourselves. I'm Councillor Becky Haggart. I'll be chairing this sub-licensing committee today, so welcome. I'll go through from my right and round.
Good morning, my name is Mrs MacLeod. I am the legal advisor for today's hearing.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Janet Gardner.
My name is Charles Noor. Good morning, I'm the applicant for the licence.
I'm Mr. Panchal, representing the applicant at this hearing.
Good morning, Daniel Ferrer from the licensing team as case officer today.
Good morning, Anisha Tedji, Democratic Services.
Lovely, thank you very much. And have we any apologies of absence?
Apologies from Councillor Smallwood.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest in matters coming before this meeting? No, that's good. Just to confirm that the items of business marked in Part 1 will be considered in public. We have no Part 2. Okay, have we any matters that have come in that are urgent and have been notified in advance?
No, Chair, thank you.
Right, so today we're here to hear the application for the grant of premises licence at Harfield Local, 42 Parade High Street, Harfield, UB9 6BU. And we're going to start with the introductory by the Regulator Services and the Licensing Officer, Daniel.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members of the Licensing Subcommittee. As you've mentioned, Chair, this is an application under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The application was received by the licensing team on the 2nd of May and the closing date was the 30th of May 2024. The application was advertised in accordance with the relevant regulations, the Blue Notice, and advertised in the local newspaper. In addition, the application was put on the Council's website and sent to the relevant ward members. The application is for the sale of alcohol Monday to Sunday, 0800 to midnight, and it's alcohol for off the premises. Chairman, there were no representations from the ward members or the responsible authorities. But what I should point out is my colleague who was acting as the responsible authority for the licensing authority, Mrs. Ginny Mukherjee, has agreed 10 additional conditions to go on the operating schedule with the applicant, and they can be found in full on page 6 of your report. During the consultation period, you'll see from the report, an email was received from the lead petitioner, and that can be found, the email, on page 35, and the full petition, the redacted, is on page 37. The lead petitioner is Mr. Govinda Madan, and since the drafting of this report, he has confirmed he is also the licence holder and DPS of Cost Cutter at 24 High Street, and now that is public record anyway, but he has confirmed that in writing to us. In terms of the petition itself, though I've said it's redacted, 100 signatures in total. 5 were not local, 2 were from local businesses in the area. On page 12, you will see that we've highlighted the 3 main sections of the licensing policy which deals with petitions. Chairman, that's a summary of my report. I'm happy to take any questions, but equally happy to lead to the submissions of the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to confirm, really, we've had no complaints, no members' inquiries from licensing, from street trading, or members of the public, apart from the petition that's been put through for 100 signatures.
That is correct, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner, do you have any questions? Okay. Right, we will now move across to the applicant. And so if you'd like to give your summary, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to be very brief. As you heard from the licensing officer, during the application there were no objections from any of the responsible authorities, apart from the licensing, which you heard that the conditions were agreed, which are on page 6 of your bundle. The all 10 conditions were agreed by the license holder and the applicant. I will go through to give you the confidence how well the premises is going to be run, which will make your life much easier. It would have been nice if the objectors were here. There will be a training menu at the premises present. There will be the refusal book, the incident book normally required by the guidance, section 182. There will be all posters to avoid a public nuisance by having a CCTV poster. We shall be having a notice to leave quietly, considering the neighbours. And my client is going to follow the Challenge 25 scheme to provide children from harm, to make sure children from harm. The manual will have all staff employed will undergo a training, and that training will be logged into the manual for responsible authorities to have a look. There will be a section 57 for the DPS to, when he's away, to appoint people there at the premises, an authorization also. Plus, there will be a right-to-work checklist before anybody is employed, which is now very important in this day and age we are staying. So there, all the staff's documents will be in the right-to-check for the responsible authorities to have a look. So you could see that how robustly the premises will be run. Apart from that, I also would like to mention that my applicant holds a personal license, so he's the DPS. He has a lot of experience. His family's been running off licenses for the last plenty of years, and he's diverting himself now. He did buy 2 businesses in Birmingham and sold it off, and now moving back to home because they live in Hounslow, so it's near the home. So there is an experience with the applicant in running off licenses. Chairman, I could go on and on about the section guidance 14.19, which says need is not, and you can see the objectors' views or the objections were on need, and need is not something that the committee should decide. So, Chairman, if there's anything you want us to answer or make you more satisfied than what we've said, we are happy to take the questions from you.
Thank you very much. I just have 2 questions, but most of it will be in the discussion, as we lead the discussion. But 2 just confirmation questions, really, for me. The timing is midnight. That's correct, isn't it? Okay. So that was the first one. And the second one was just to confirm, I've seen the layout of the shop, and I can see obviously it's other things are sold in there. So we're looking at groceries. So just to confirm, actually, it's not the whole shop that's selling alcohol. It's only a certain percentage of the shop. And again, we'll come to that in the discussion. But I just wanted to confirm both of those. Thank you very much. Councillor Gardiner.
You pinched a couple of my questions. Can you explain why you think it's necessary to stay open until midnight, please?
Because that's when most of the delivery drivers can literally get everything they need. Most, like, every time someone orders anything online. So that's the time when we get the most orders, because people don't want to leave around that time. Yeah.
Do you have another question, Councillor Gardner? Is that it? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We would move to responsible authorities, but I don't think we have anything. So, and other parties. So just to say, we do obviously have, as you said, Daniel, we have a notification from Govinda Madan, who has put in a petition for challenging the licence. So we have taken into account. The objective of the petition is that there are already 2 shops in the small village which sell alcohol, so the need is already met, and with the increasing of antisocial behaviour, this will only be added to the problems. And the third point was nearby the school, children welfare could be compromised under the licensing objective. So just to say that we have that, and just for everyone, because there is no one here, just to make that clear. Right, so we're now going to go on to the discussions. I think we can have a good discussion around this. And I'm sure myself and Councillor Gardner have a few questions that we'd like to go through. If I could start off, if that's okay with you. We looked at the conditions, and if we were to grant this licence, we obviously have 10 conditions around there. How do you see the conditions will affect you? How are you going to adhere to the conditions? And I think one of the big issues that we're seeing at the moment is exactly what you said about the deliveries. Picking the alcohol up, picking the food up, bringing them out, and we've put on till 11 o'clock, so we've put on 2,300 hours. But how are you going to manage that? How are you going to adhere to the conditions? How are you going to check that people are over 25? Because obviously it's third party, isn't it? It would be Ubers, I would presume. Do you have your own driver? Lots of questions really around that little cohort of those conditions. Because I think it is really important, especially as you've just said, if someone's going to order something at 11:30 at night, as you said to Councillor Gardner, that's actually really late to be ordering alcohol. So if you could just open that up a little bit for me, thank you.
I mean, it's not just alcohol. They could order literally anything. It could be a chocolate, a crisp packet, anything anything a customer needs from a convenience store. We don't just sell only alcohol. We send other stuff as well. And about the conditions, I've read all of them. How the ignition needs to be off and everything. That will be followed by me personally, because I've done it before. I can do it again. I had businesses before. I've been dealing with it since a very long time. And about the Challenge 25, we will be confirming with the driver to make sure they check the ID before giving any sort of product to the customer. If they look under the age of 25, make sure you check the ID. That's it.
Thank you.
No.
And although this obviously doesn't come into this remit, but how are you going to manage the Uber drivers then parking up, that position, especially maybe just at the later hours? I think during the day it could be a problem as well during the day, but I mean all the way through then, during the day and later.
I will put up right signs for them to show them the right direction where to park up and where the collection point is.
Thank you. I've got a few more, but I'm going to hand over to Councillor Gardner, because I'm sure she's got some of the similar ones that I have, so I'm not going to hog the show, but over to Councillor Gardner.
Yeah, a couple of things. If you're dealing with phone queries and phone deliveries, will the shop actually be physically open up till midnight?
Yes.
Okay. And also the other thing about Uber drivers. representing the area that I do, Uber drivers pay no attention to where you tell them to park. Trust me on that one. I represent Hayes Town, and Uber drivers are not interested in where they're told to park, basically. I mean, that's me just letting you know. I mean, you must have seen them anywhere, all over the place. I don't know, as I say, I'm slightly concerned that you'll be open to midnight. According to this, the other premises in the area are only close at 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider closing at 11 o'clock?
Could do. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. And that's good to hear that you would consider closing, because I completely agree with Councillor Gardner. When you look at here, all the actual ones are either 11 or 11:30, I think there might be one. Could you just explain a little bit about your background? You did say, obviously, we've discussed in your history, you have a personal licence, and I was going to ask that question, so, but you covered it for me, which is really good. So if you could just describe a little bit about, you know, how you've held your personal licence, how long for, and also if you could describe a little bit about your shop as well, because I saw it on the plan, and I can see that there are other items. So just a little bit of a description about what you would be selling. And in your experience as well, what is sold in the later hours of the evening? So, you know, is it crisps or is it alcohol? Because I presume you do have experience around that area. Thank you.
I wish I could tell you, because you never know about a customer. Sometimes they need an alcohol, sometimes they would literally walk in for a needle, you could say, because it's a convenience store. That's the closest shop they can go to and get everything they need. Not everyone drinks, and not everyone's over the age of 18 for them to be drinking. So even later hours, sometimes there could be kids coming with their parents, getting chocolates, getting their meals for the morning, sandwiches. It could be anything. I can't tell you it will be alcohol I'll be selling later hours. It will be only one product. It could be anything. It could be tissues. It could be bin bags, wherever the need is. Yeah. And about my previous experience, my dad owned 2 shops in Reading, and when I started working with him, I had to go through this course to obtain a personal license. So I know all the 4 objectives: prevention of crime and disorder, promotion, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, protection of children from any harm. I'm aware of it. As I've got a school right next to the shop I'm applying the license for, I will be keeping an extra staff for school hours, just to make sure all the kids and everyone's safe around those hours, because that's the main time when all the kids come in, especially in the morning and during the evening around 3 p.m. So I will make sure I have an extra staff who's keeping an eye on them, and I won't let more than 2 kids walk into the store. There will be customers, or there will be only 2 kids allowed at the time inside the premises, just to maintain the safety.
That's really good to hear, actually, and very comprehensive. You do mention the CCTV and the recognising of imagery, which is really important, especially for shoppers we know. Do you want to explain it? I'm sure it's standard, but do you want to just explain a little bit about that?
I'm aware of the fact that we have to keep the footage up to 31 days, all recorded, so I will be keeping all the record on me. If just in case if a police or any member who needs it for their safety, I will be providing that.
Thank you very much. I think my only really concern around is, as Councillor Gardner's pointed out, is the deliveries. So I just need to understand a little bit more about the Challenge 25 and how that happens. You know, I don't order via Uber, my daughters do, but I don't. So when they order, say they order, for example, crisps and alcohol, and the driver goes to their house, can you just talk me through the process? And how would you know that the driver has checked their ID? I think that's where I'm getting at. How would you know that?
It always appears on the...
Sorry, Chair, can I come into that? The problem with the Uber and Deliveroo that we are talking about is when the companies like Uber and Deliveroo order, their drivers who come to pick it up, it is the shopkeepers selling it to Uber, and they're not selling it to the ex-customer. And that the driver of the Uber has got to be over 25. So the first thing the shopkeepers need to do is to check the Uber driver, is he over 18? And once the delivery is given to the Uber, because it's ordered by Uber and not by the individual person, and what the Uber does with that order, it is the Uber's responsibility, not the shopkeeper. But if the shopkeeper was delivering the goods on his own, then it is the responsibility of the shopkeeper. And that is where it comes in, that they have to ask for an ID or the card that they've taken the money with, which has to be an over 18 person, and the same person must be taking the deliveries. So that's what we train when we've been training him for last so many years, the father and everybody. And that is why you could see how efficient. I'm proud to say that our training has worked.
Yeah, no, thank you. I understand that, and I understand that obviously it's out of your jurisdiction once it goes on to the Uber and there's. But I'm really interested because you pointed out that you might be doing you'll be doing your personal deliveries? Is that correct?
Not personal. It will be through Uber delivery.
So just so I can clarify, there won't be any delivery drivers from your shop, but they will all be third parties. There will be Ubers, etc., etc. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and we can't really do anything about that. But what you can do, which is what you've explained to me, is obviously when they take the drink or whatever snacks they're going to take, you check at that time.
Yeah.
I'm quite confident because you're saying about the over 25 policy. I'm confident of your history. I can hear that. And I hear that, you obviously have had massive experience in working within this field. Can you just explain to me a little bit about what the shop's selling? That's the only other thing. So I know is it groceries? I mean, I've got the plan there. Can you just go through and can you tell me a percentage? What percentage has the alcohol in it? What rough percentage part of the shop?
So spirits can be anything from, most of the vodkas can be up to 37.5% spirits. Whiskey, most of them 40%. And beers, they come up to 6%, 6.5, 7%. And
yeah, it's not actually the percentage of spirit, although that's very handy to hear. So they carry on, but it's actually about the amount of alcohol sold in the shop. Whereabouts is, what percentage of the shop is selling the alcohol?
I would say about 20%. Yep.
And also, what are you selling in your shop as well as the alcohol? So just
all
rough.
sort of grocery, chocolates, crisps, sandwiches, soft drinks, frozen pizzas, frozen fries, like most of the ice creams, also where you can find in a convenience store. Basic stuff, whether, let's just say, a plastic glass, it could be anything.
Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Gardner, do you have any further questions?
Well, sort of. What is the antisocial behaviour in the area like, first of all? And also, what concerns me is, I'll be perfectly honest with you, is the closing time, because I don't know how I can say this. You get people who smoke dope, who wander about, who may like to pop in and have a bar of chocolate, at some ridiculous time. I mean, just things like that worry me. It's around the noise that the Uber drivers will make, the fact that, the Uber driver might be over 18, I think they probably have to be to get the mopeds or whatever, anyway, so that's okay. But you're effectively, you could be, right, effectively letting somebody else sell alcohol, give alcohol to a minor. Those are my basic concerns. Does that make sense?
I mean, Uber drivers, they're responsible because they're trained in their way by the app, they get full-on training. My job is to just check their ID and make sure they're over the age of 18. If they look under the age of 25, I will be IDing them. And if they don't have a physical ID, then there's no way I'm going to serve them any sort of alcohol or anything, even a tobacco, even a vape.
Councillor Gardner, do you have another question? No. I think as well, looking into Harfield and actually how it's situated, because obviously each case is different and each case is in a different area. Harfield is a very small village. It is very quiet. And I think absolutely the timings are really important. So, 11 o'clock is important really rather than 12. And because it's such a close-knit community, I'm aware that we will take into consideration, obviously there are other shops open as well, which we've seen on the plan. So that's important to put that into context too. But I think from me, I'm quite satisfied. I think I've answered the question. Looking at the petition, they said there were already 2 shops in the small village, so their concern is obviously the need for another one. And they're saying the increase of antisocial behaviour, which Councillor Garden has pointed out as well, but obviously we can't predict that because we don't know. And then that it's nearby a school, children's welfare. Well, that comes with every element of shops. So I'm confident that we've had a good discussion. I don't know, is there any other questions, Councillor Gardner?
When I said about the antisocial behaviour in the area, I meant, have you spoken to the local police about it, or the local ward councillors about what the antisocial behaviour in the area is like?
Yeah, I mean, from my side, I will be putting all sort of signs up and everything just to make sure there is no sort of antisocial behaviour. I will be telling the customers to be leaving the premises quietly. I will put up the signs. I will explain to them. I mean, if someone's drunk or is not in a very normal manner, I won't be serving them any sort of alcohol or anything like that, just to make sure everything's okay and my neighbours and everyone's alright.
I think that's a really good question that you brought up there, Councillor Gardner. I just want to follow on from that really. I'm sure there's a procedure that if people do come in and are causing antisocial behaviour, could you just talk me through the procedure?
I mean, we can tell them off, we can show them the signs that that's not the right behaviour, but if they continue doing it, then we have an option of calling up the police, or we have a little alarm system that we can just always press those buttons and they know that that's not normal now. Yeah, just to maintain that, we will be putting all sort of stuff in the shop, like buttons for the safety, for the staff, everything. There will be more than 1 or 2 people all the time, just to make sure there is no trouble like that within the premises or outside. But if they continue, then police is always there. We will have to inform them and let them know about the whole situation that's happening. We can provide them with the CCTV footage and wherever the needs are, just to make sure everyone's safe.
Yes, thank you, because it is safety for the community, but also safety for yourself, right? Safety for yourself. We hear a lot of that, so I'm really pleased that you actually said that you do have the panic button, the alarm that you could press. I think that's really, really important. Can you just let me know whether you will be in the shop most of the time? I presume that you'll obviously have people working for you. Could you just explain how often you will be in the shop managing it and who you have working for you?
I will be there every day, 7 days a week myself personally. I will try and be there, but just in case if something comes up, I can't always be there myself. My staff will be fully trained. They've been working with me from very long time, so I will be hiring the same staff because they have full-on experience how to serve customers, check their IDs and everything. It will be mainly me myself who will be serving most of the customers. I'll be behind the counter a lot of the time, but there are times when I have to go cash and carry myself to get all sort of stock. During those hours, there will be my dad. He holds a personal license himself with the staff member.
Thank you very much. Have you had any experience of antisocial behaviour? I'm sure you have, but over the history of the premises that you've held, or?
I mean, that sort of behaviour, it all depends on the area. I mean, looking at Harfield, I don't think that would be the concern. But yeah, there are a few areas like that. We do see that sort of stuff, and we always have panic buttons and stuff like that. That always helps us to get away from the situation, where we can maintain the safety of customers and everyone around us. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's good to say we can't really tell what area, we're never sure. So I think that's important. But it's good to hear that you have had experience in antisocial behaviour. That's really what I was after, and you know how to deal with it when it comes up. I think that's incredibly important. We cannot say any area is safe because we don't know people move in and out of the areas, right, as they go across. So thank you. Are there any other questions? No. Okay, so we can do a very quick closing remarks. Thank you for everything that you have shared with us today. And we go through, is it Daniel?
Yes, I've got nothing further to add, Chairman.
Thank you. And then the applicant.
Chairman, we don't have much to say. You already heard from the client, and we feel that the license we granted on its entirety that has been applied for. That's what we are expecting from you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. We will now come to the deliberation part of the meeting. So if we could ask all parties to leave while we deliberate on the licence. Thank you very much.